Suppose you write for yourself a very handy shell script. The shell script is so handy that you make it available to every other user on your Unix system. You might put it in a special bin directory like /user/local/bin, where everybody can find it. And further, suppose that some of the users on your system are not using the Bourne shell as their login shell. They're using the C shell. Now, when those users attempt to run your Bourne shell script, what do you think will happen? Well, the chances are that they won't be able to run it, or they'll run it and they'll get some kind of syntax error because the syntax of C shell scripts is completely different to the syntax of Bourne shell scripts. Now, the aim of the exercise is obviously to create a script such that everybody on the system can use it regardless of what shell they're using. So in this module we learn how in fact we can go about that. So let's get a bit of background on that first. The Bourne shell is not the only program that can be used to run scripts, of course. Others include, well, the C shell, we just mentioned that, but there's actually a whole bunch of other programs that can run scripts that aren't shells at all, like SED, the stream editor, or awk, it's a very powerful text processor, or Perl and TCL, which are also very powerful text processors. There are many others. Scripts can be written for each of those programs. In fact, what you would say is that each of those programs, including the Bourne shell, is a script interpreter, each with its own language, syntax, and set of features. So let's look under the bonnet and find out exactly what happens when you instruct your Bourne shell to run a script. What happens is, firstly, the file, the name of the script file itself, is located and opened. And the first few characters of that file are examined to determine what type of executable it is, whether it's a binary file or whether it's a script. Now, if it is a script, and no interpreter is specified in the script itself, and we'll look in a moment exactly what that means, then the shell, the Bourne shell that you're running, attempts to interpret and run that script. And of course it may be that your login shell is a C shell and the script that you're trying to run is a Bourne shell script, or vice versa. It may even be possible that the script that you're trying to run is not a shell script at all, it's a Perl script, or an awk script, or a SED script, or something else. Now, even if it's not a shell script, we still want it to be able to be run successfully from the shell command line. How do we go about telling the shell that this is in fact a Perl script and should thus be executed using the Perl program? Now, the answer is not putting an extension on the end of the file name, like a .pl extension, or if it was an awk script, putting a .awk on the end of the script name. Unix, as you may recall, does not support file types via extensions. That is solely a Windows province. So there has to be another way. And the other way is this. The script interpreter can be specified on the first line of the script in the following manner. If you add a line that looks like that to the very beginning of your script, then if a script interpreter attempts to open that script, it will read that line and determine from that line the real script interpreter that should be used to run the program. In other words, if the Bourne shell opens up this script and sees that line at the beginning of the file, it says, aha, this is not a Bourne script at all. I should not try and execute this. Instead, I should invoke the C shell and load the C shell into memory and ask the C shell to run this particular script. In that way, the script will be run successfully. If it was a Perl script, for example, you might specify the script interpreter like that, depending on where Perl happened to be located on your system. Now, it's not mandatory that you put this line at the beginning of your script file. Obviously it's not mandatory because we haven't done it yet and the scripts have still been running. But we've just been lucky because we've only been trying to run Bourne shell scripts using the Bourne shell login shell. So I guess we've just been lucky. So it's not mandatory, but it is in fact strongly advisable. So what I advise all of you, as quickly as possible, get into the habit of writing scripts with a script interpreter specified on the first line. So in other words, if it's going to be a Bourne shell script, you would put that line at the very beginning of each script that you write. If you don't put it there, your script will not run correctly if it is started by someone who is not using the Bourne shell as their login shell. And this technique is absolutely essential if you want to use Bourne shell scripts in your CGI web programs. There is no way that your shell scripts will run correctly if you do not put that line at the very beginning of your file in a CGI program. I'll just give you a brief demonstration of that. In this directory I have a script called Perl-script. This is a script written in the language of Perl, not written in the language of the Bourne shell. Now, it's still an executable file, so theoretically I should be able to execute it. So let's try that. Perl-script, and I get a bunch of error messages. And the reason I get those error messages is I have not specified the script interpreter at the top of that file. So let's now open up Perl-script and have a look at it. It doesn't really matter what's in it, but what I want to do is determine the script interpreter. Now, to do that I need to find out where is Perl on this system. So I do that by using the type command. Type Perl, that will tell me the path where Perl can be found, and it's in /user/local/bin/Perl. Okay, fair enough. So at the beginning of this file I put /user/bin/Perl and write that and save that and quit. And now again I run Perl-script, and this time it prints correctly. I get no error messages, I just get a bunch of HTML code which theoretically should have been submitted to a browser. Whether or not it should have been submitted to a browser, the point is the script worked. And we want all scripts to work all the time, no matter where they're called from, so it's really advisable to put the name of the interpreter at the top of the script file.